So what has to be modified on the Losi DBXLE is very different from what has to be done on the Losi Super Rock Rey. And the good thing is that very little has to be done to be able to, keep this rig on the road and make sure that it stays relatively bulletproof. You'll notice first and foremost that the spindles are the same, are the stock ones, plastic. My C-hobs are the same as well. I haven't changed those. I didn't have to, and they're not a particularly a major. They're not a major point of concern on this ride. Which is quite the opposite for the Losi Super Rock Rey. The one thing that I've noticed, however, the shocks are very sturdy. They're strong. They will take a beating. However, they're very stiff. You'll notice that there's very little. There's actually no preload whatsoever in the front, even though there's no compression of the spring. So that makes for a very jittery ride. As a matter of fact, the GoPro that I had mounted on there today fell off and I was driving in the grass. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Make sure that your Loctite is where it's supposed to be. And I check my bolts and nuts and screws every 3-4 rides just to make sure that everything is still hanging on there as it should. So the top flips as so. Very easy to work on this rig. Because of the wheelbase, you're gonna have some flex there. So you can see right here, there's the metal chassis brace. There's not a whole lot. Metal shock tower here. Same at the back, of course. But besides that, to prevent the flex, that's really the only thing that you want to watch out. One of the reasons why you want to prevent the flex is that otherwise your shaft here is going to take the load of the tension. So that's not something that you want. You're going to end up damaging that bit here. One thing that I've done, I've changed the greases. So this I can't recall exactly what the stock setup is, but that's 500 here, 300 at the back, and 100 at the front. I wanted to send more power. The rig being a long wheelbase, it understeers, especially with those relatively thin tires there. So I wanted to be able to send more power to the back to be able to mitigate that understeer, and it really works beautifully. It still understeers, but it's very predictable, and you're able to counteract it to counter it rather with the power. It's a rig that I can you can let anyone drive relatively safely and have very little concern. One thing that's been changed, the servo here is the high-tech try to focus there. High-tech D845 WEP. I've got the 840 version here, which is a bit faster, a little less torque. It works fine, has plenty of torque, does the trick. It's waterproof. I haven't had any issue with this guy whatsoever.